what Tom really described in really vivid terms there was how lockdown has brought this issue to a fore, but it's not a new issue, is it? And it's something that certainly, among others, Raymond's been talking about for a long time. And that there is some legislation in the offing, perhaps not what we need, but some legislation that can help this issue. Raymond, do you want to talk a little about that?
Over the last 4 or 5 years, maybe 6 years, BTA has been working with a lot of partners on trying to remove the rates, the non-domestic rates that were on every single public toilet in the country. So just as of September this year, November last year, we got it into Parliament. Unfortunately, the Prime Minister then prorogued Parliament and everything got thrown out. But then when we managed to get it back in again in the early part of the new year, when the government released the rates for local businesses, we went back and said, look, we need them off public toilets as well. So as of September, the non-domestic brackets public lavatories bill has now passed its way through Parliament. It's gone back to the House of Lords, and it'll hopefully go for royal assent, which will make it a law. So what it'll do, it'll remove the rates from all public toilets, all standalone public toilets in the country. Now we have a caveat with the government and with the opposition to say, look, there's a number of other issues we need to look at here. We need to look at other sites as well, sites in public buildings, sites in airports and seaports and all the rest of it, because these places they're such a vital piece of infrastructure, such an essential service as what we're talking about here today, that we need to see public toilets on every street corner. We need to see them where people can find them. And as Richard just said there, toilets are not about waste management. They're about health and well-being, which is what we're discussing here today. They're about social inclusion and equality. And they're about public dignity, which Richard and Tony have talked about as well, as Tom. And really, they are a big economic factor in the high street. People will move away. We're losing the footfall. We're losing the high streets. And the government wants us to come back there again. And the Prime Minister's talked about putting 5 billion back into the high streets and whatever. And we're now talking to him saying, well, how much of that money is going to be ring fenced for public toilets? Because it has to be, we have to have toilets in public places. Otherwise, people will move away.
So the ratings bill is one piece of legislation. Another policy that's come to the fore in recent years is changing places. And Ian, you mentioned in your introduction that that's something that your company particularly supplies into. Can you describe the changing places initiative?
Yeah, I mean, we've been involved with it for a number of years now, and the initiative is to get an increasing number of changing places into public places, and these are retail parks, transport hubs, and all the sort of places where people with disabilities would need to use this type of facility. So I mean, we've seen the market change, over a period of time. It's becoming there's certainly most of the funding has come from the retail side, which is good. We've been involved with some of the people like IKEA and Wetherspoons, and it's really good, as Karen mentioned before, about government funding coming into this now, and that will hopefully add another layer of investment into that marketplace, because it is absolutely key, particularly to our customers. I mean, we have over probably 100,000 closet customers in the UK, and they need to get out. We support them in their domestic environment, but they need to have these facilities out in the public environment to help them, again, with the health and well-being. And it's not just their own health and well-being, it's also the families that are linked to support them. So it's not just the individual person, there's a whole network of support around these people that require these facilities.
Karen, obviously you've got changing places in your job title even as development officer. Do you want to chip in on this?
We've been working, whilst we as the campaigners are the drivers of this, obviously they've been working for years and years and years also to try and get this into building regs. And I think we had a really successful meeting with Rishi Sunak, who also is now Chancellor, but a couple of years ago we met with him, and obviously the campaigners and facilitated conversations in Parliament with him about the need of getting these into building regs going forward. And obviously we're delighted, obviously he's very supportive, and obviously committed to this. Obviously in July we had the announcement this year that obviously there's going to be that 30 million put into funding for changing places to go into new buildings, as well as obviously it going into the building regs and becoming lawful from the 1st of January next year as well. So this is a massive breakthrough for obviously the world of changing places. And obviously we're delighted that campaigners have driven this and played a part, and obviously now it's going to be managing this into the next stage as to how that's going to look, and which areas it's going to go into. And obviously we had the successful Department of Transport funding, which is now seeing more changing places going into motorway service stations. So we're keen to see from the government how this next stage of funding is going to be looking and offering, and to get the finer details to help get these out there and get more changing places available for the people that need them.
So positive direction of travel on changing places.